Welcome to Who's This For, a podcast about creating with intention. I talk with artists, entrepreneurs, and media makers about connecting with their audience by focusing on a single person. You create music, brands, experiences, or stories. This is the podcast for you. Well, hello, and thank you, listener or viewer, for joining us on another episode of Who Is This For? The podcast that talks about communicating to an audience of one, whether your work's seen by 2 people or 2 million. So I am thrilled to be joined by an expert visual communicator, a photographer, a team builder, a just all around great guy, Branden and Nall. How's it going today, Branden?
Good. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great because I'm talking to you right now. So thank you for joining us. I want to just talk with you about your creative process, and we got a little announcement at the end. But let's start with talking about your creative process. Do you want to give the viewer a little bit of your CV, what you've done in the past, your little creative journey?
Sure. So I guess creatively, I started filming when I was actually in middle school, filming the sports that happened at my high school. So it was for coaching. So I would film, and then they would study film afterwards. So that's where everything started, on top of being the family photographer, the honorary, right? Hand me the camera and go to town. But beyond that, yeah, I went to college and went to school for actually elementary education and vocal performance. And that's now where I found myself. In 2005, I picked up a camera and just started from there. And then self-taught right at the beginning, trying to figure out what to do with a DSLR. And then I ended up going to school, taking a bunch of classes, understanding what kind of processes and how to operate the camera, what f-stop meant, aperture, interchangeably, and then shutter speed, etc. All the things. And then moved into kind of the professional life. I ended up shooting a portrait of my daughter that won some awards, something that happened. And then I moved into, and I guess growing up, I was always involved in sports. I was a multi-sport athlete. And so I guess fell into the sports realm and then the photojournalistic side of things, and things went from there. So that's the basis of where everything stemmed from. And then it just built up. And yeah, if you want, like, getting into workflow, it changed so many times over the years, just because workflow, a part of workflow with digital has always been, for me, the side of with computers also, versus having to go to a dark room and develop film. I never encountered that. Have I shot film? Can I develop my own? Nope. I wouldn't know the first thing about it. But yeah, so it was a digital darkroom, and actually digital darkroom was one of the first programs that I used, and moved on from there into the Photoshop and Adobe world, which I had that at the tail end of high school. I think that's when everything came out. Then, yeah, getting into workflow, it was there were so many bits and pieces to it.
That's really interesting. I want to talk to you about sports a little bit because I have a couple questions there, but I think right off the bat, you're mentioning workflows. And this is something that's really intriguing to me too, because a lot of times when I'm working on something, be it building a website, editing photos, or even doing some video stuff, I find that there's a lot of similarities in my process, even when I'm doing different things. Do you find that as well?
I do. It's very similar across all genres of photography at this point for me, whether it's I'm doing headshots for a business. If I head to Milwaukee and I'm photographing everybody on staff at an insurance agency or investment group, or if I head to Lambeau Field and I'm on the sideline shooting the Green Bay Packers or whatever it might be, or even Pee Wee hockey, like at a local hockey rink, which is honestly one of my favorite things to shoot. They are amazing, much better than pro sports, but it's, yeah, the workflow is very similar through everything. It's basically, you show up, you make sure you have the correct lenses. And I think that's a lot of things that people don't understand. Do you have hoods, depending on if you're indoor, outdoor, how's the lighting? Just identifying what you need for equipment and then moving into shooting what you're shooting, and then going right from there to getting it onto the computer, onto a drive, onto a backup drive, and into the workflow on the computer, depending on what it's for. Many workflows, depending on what it is, the client that I'm shooting for, do they need it in 15 minutes? Do they need it immediately as a wireless off the camera that I can send it to myself, quickly edit it on my iPad, and then ship it off so they can use it on social media? Or do they need it in 2 weeks because it's a shoot for a documentary in some way? And maybe I don't even have to edit. Maybe it's just me saving it and then sending all of the files off, and then they take care of everything on their end.
Wow. So one thing that was really interesting as you're telling me about all that, this is so good. You're so interesting. I appreciate this. But one thing that was really like I realized, so when you're doing a lot of the shoots, you have a different audience. And when you're shooting a corporate event, the intended audience for that photo is a lot different than a sporting event. Does that alter your process or how you're seeing these things through your camera lens?
The process might change a little bit, not a ton. The way I see things, when I shoot, I have the final product in my head immediately. What is it going to look like when it comes off the computer? I try to get it. In my early years, I just shot, right? I just shot to gain that experience. I called it practice. So I wasn't shooting and getting paid for it. I would go out and just shoot, because for me, it's like a sport. This is what I'm doing. So I go out and practice it. And there would be a lot of shooting, and then I would do a lot of over editing. And I think a lot of people do that right when they start, or that's the way it was when digital first became a thing. And now it's really easy to just click the auto enhance button, right? And it says, "Oh, we're not going to do this." Yeah, I think we all are to a certain point. Now you can, with some of the Adobe software, you can create your own presets. And in those presets, like if you go shoot a wedding, you can create that same feel that you had aboard. There's even AI subscriptions that you can send all of your photos to from whatever photo shoot it might be, and they will actually finish all of your photos. So they'll go through and post-process everything for you and then send them back. And you don't ever even have to touch them anymore. In terms of the clientele, it really depends. I actually just had this conversation with a gentleman who is a sports photographer. That's primarily what he does.
Yeah.
But we talked about what an on-screen image is. Are you shooting for on-screen, Instagram, a website, etc.? Or are you shooting for somebody to put something like a 24 by 36 printed on their wall? So there are multiple ways of doing things. So a lot of my clients, they'll get a full high res version that I send them for print, and then, or for marketing or whatever it might be. Again, that's a whole different spectrum, because if I'm shooting as a marketing tool, then I'm shooting in a different way. I'm creating more space so they can drop in graphics, so they can drop in information and words and etc. There's a lot of, what is this photo for? And I have to know as soon as I pick up the camera right now what this photo is going to be used for. So sometimes if I'm like, I need to get a close up, then I need to dial it back. Then I need to shoot thirds so I can have, if we're doing a full spread in a magazine, that I need this part of it needs to be the image. This part needs to be blank for whatever infographics that they're going to put on it, or even the article on the side. So yeah, workflow it varies so much, but it's always the same few things that happen over and over again.
Yeah.
It's a little convoluted, but I think that for me, it just comes naturally because I've done it for so long now.
For one, life is convoluted. Let's just leave that there. That's just the nature of this existence thing we're all doing. But your workflow, it's interesting because you're viewing this intended purpose, and really in a way you're viewing it for an intended audience. One thing, now I want to get to sports. When you're shooting sports, if you're shooting stuff for like internal teams shots versus what we're seeing at home, does that alter the shot at all? Is there any different angles you do? Is there any different things you're going for what like teams are looking for their improvement versus what we get to see?
There is. So I guess when it comes down to pro sports specifically, there's a lot of that. It's a kind of a congeal of everything. So there is sometimes where I'm out there and you have to get shots of specific players, and that's all you're focused on. It's just, okay, I need to shoot number 18, 22, 48, whatever it might be. And those are the key players, and I need to get, this is what I need to do. I need to get, let's say if it's football, it's a running back. I want to get the running back in some kind of aggressive element, but I also want to maybe get him in the open field to create something different. If I'm on a frisbee golf course or disc golf course, maybe it's me having to shoot and line up every single one of the disc golfers that is there so they can get like facial features, the teeing off, whatever it might be. And then the next day and a different day, then we go after other specific features. So there absolutely is. And I think when you have a team too, there might be different assignments that come up across the board. As a photojournalist who shot for a newspaper for many years, that's essentially what it was. I would go in and be like, okay, we're really focused on this player because we're going to be doing a feature on this player, get some great shots, get those out of the way first, and then focus on all the rest of the action. But yes, and then the next day or the day after, whatever it might be, then you actually have a full regular photo shoot where, they're holding the ball out, they're doing something as the feature photo, but then you have the action shots that are within the article.
I love that. So yeah, it is. You're shooting for what people want to see. And that must be really fascinating for, again, how you're shooting things at times, because you must see things differently for different moments, if that makes sense. Do you find that you're experiencing space and sight differently sometimes?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I look at when I see things, there's a lot of people who will be like, oh, I would love to take pictures of that too. Like for me, that's not how I view it. It's a matter of highlights, lights, shadows, and darks. That's how I see whatever's going on, just because sports are just one of those things where shooting sports isn't easy because you also have to predict what's going to happen. So if you know that, hey, this is what's going to happen based on the formation they're in on a football field. This is what's going to happen typically if they're coming down the floor and this player's in the game because they typically command the ball. Or if they put the center back in after having 4 fouls, they come back in, then your focus is going to be a little different because maybe they're going to be a touch and go with giving that person the ball so they don't get any more fouls. There's a lot of different things that come into play that just are like inerrant for me to be like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. Also, maybe listening to the coaches if you're on the sideline and running through that, kind of listening to the players and how they're acting, and also not keying in on the plays. But some of the best stuff that I've ever captured is the exclamatory actions that are happening right next to me on the sideline, where I can turn around and here's the coach that's jumping in the air with his arms up, and I'm dropping down to my knees as fast as I can to create that spatial awareness to make him look like he's really high in the air to give that more of an effect. Or I'm running out, I'm not even looking in the camera, but I'm holding the camera above my head because some team is celebrating. Maybe they're lifting up a trophy, but I'm just basically shooting, pointing the camera, but I can't actually see what's going on unless I have the screen flipped down to see exactly how I'm capturing the moment. But that's really what it is. The plays and the players on the field, the court, the rink, whatever it might be, are very much some of the least impactful stuff that I've ever made when creating photos before, especially with sports.
It's because it's like you're doing so much to show like utter humanity. That's awesome.
It's the same thing with concert. When you go to a concert, it's identical.
Oh yeah, for sure. You getting that scorching bass line or score. Yeah, I guess I was being a guitar player there, but
yeah,
getting that awesome moment. I love it. I've had this conversation in a few forms on this show, but there must be a lot of push, or not push pull in a bad way, but just a lot of interplay between you and the clients when you're doing photography. And it's an interesting interplay. I talked with Micah Davis about this a few weeks ago, but it's an interesting interplay because you have to produce something that the client wants, but you're also like thinking about what the audience ultimately wants to see. Do you find that exists a lot in photography?
I do. There's honestly not typically a lot of overlap. So if I'm shooting specifically for a client, like bringing back sports, if somebody from one of the high schools or the college calls me and says, hey, we need somebody to capture photos. We want you to be on the field on this day or in the court this day to capture this. So like when I shooting the NCAA national tournament, when they called me to shoot that, it was more of I was shooting for the university. I was covering their specific thing. So I was shooting for everything that they need. So with a university, it's extremely detailed because yes, you need those action shots. Absolutely. But yes, you need marketing shots because you want to be able to use those shots in their advertisements and stuff that they're sending out to different tentative prospective students that are going to be going to school there, or anything else that they're going to be doing on an advertising level. Yes, you have to be very cognizant about all of the things that are going on, but specifically that when you're, I guess, I'm not really shooting. And for the public, I'm not really shooting for eye appeal for everybody outside of it. I'm shooting what is going to be good. And I guess in turn, it just automatically happens that it's also something that the public is going to, if it is an image that is shot specifically at a for marketing purposes, like somebody's going up and I already have a picture of somebody dunking a basketball. The next time I get George, let's say, jumping up to dunk a basketball, I zero in on him. And one of the caveats and the greatest things about some of the new cameras is I can actually frame him and I can track him across. My hands in front of my face, but I can track him across the frame and I can actually open the frame up so I can see the crowd cheering or the bench cheering or something in the background, something that's going.
Yeah.
So making sure I am where I need to be on the court exactly at that time, or projected saying, okay, if this happens, what do I want in the background of my photo? And so that's also stuff that goes in. But if I want to put that stuff on, let's say, Instagram or somewhere else, if I want to show the public, if I'm shooting for them in this circumstance, I could also crop it. So one of the greatest things, megapixels aren't king in certain circumstances, megapixels actually hinder productivity because they are so big and they take up so much data and so much stuff. And to have giant megapixels and a lot of moving pieces, all those megapixels also move around and create blur, etc. But you can really crop in nicely if you have a lot of megapixels. I try not to shoot with a lot of megapixels. It's specifically because I want my workflow to be significantly faster than normal. So if I have to deliver photos and get them to somebody within moments of something happening, then I can do that.
So there's a dirty question I ask in this podcast. We got 2 questions left. You're getting the dirty question before the final thing, the question, the announcement, the thing the listener can't wait to hear, but they're going to sit through this thing that we're doing right now. So listener, I mean, I'm teeing you up. Keep going with this, but you have to stick through this because there is no skip ahead in the internet. There is no skip ahead in the internet. So anyway, dirty little secret. What types of things are you using AI for these days?
No,
I know.
Mainly
Dirty,
research.
Yeah?
Honestly, mainly research. I have created some clients reach out, and obviously this part of it, the photography part is probably one of the smallest pieces that I do of all the stuff, working with people and business development and things like that. But the marketing scene. But if somebody reaches out and asks me for a logo, a little secret would probably be I'd plug it into AI. This is what the name is. This is what I'm thinking. Create something. I've never actually sent that to a client, but yeah, use AI for that. But mainly it's I'm a coffee snob. I love coffee. So I do a lot of research on different things with coffee, different things that are going on in the world today. I will, like, when they were talking about some documentation that was coming out and nobody had any answers, I was like, AI should have all of this stuff because it's all online. So that's typically what I'm doing. If I need something, maybe business proposals, things like that, I will absolutely use AI I'll write it and then put it in and then have AI reconstruct it and look at it. But yeah, I guess I don't really use anything professionally that I do that I would make an income from. All of that kind of stuff comes from, I can do subjective things in AI. In the end, I always end up writing things and doing stuff or editing it and making it better. But I'm not against it. I think it is definitely a great tool, and I'm definitely going to keep on using it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that there's no problem with it to get the ball rolling. I think it's when people are trying to pass off when they're sending it out as the final product out, always that's problematic.
I think so. I think it's more of because I don't want them to read it how somebody else, I want them to read it how I would
Yeah.
convey it to them. I believe that's part of my service of doing that, whether it's however much of it, but it's putting your emotional and your personal touches on the communication. And I think that's really what communication is. And I'm a super stickler for communication. I'm having some issues with communication with some things I'm dealing with right now. And now they're aware that I'm a stickler for communication. And if they just need to communicate via AI, just communicate at some point, just communicate. But I would have no problem with that as long as AI is all over, especially if you call a customer service for something. Typically it's AI generated. As long as you get the service that you want, and if they can allocate their personnel to doing the things that need to be done in a more appropriate manner to want to either save money or generate more revenue or whatever it might be, it's perfectly fine for sure.
I love it. I love how nuanced you are with that. That's a lot of what this is. Just really being rational about what we're doing, intentional, but like also just realizing like that there is a little push-pull and nuance in this world we live in. I want to come back to something you mentioned actually there, because I'm an expert interviewer. I hear what people talk about, and then I re-bring it back. And this is actually the thing the listener is super excited for. So here we go. Your business development skills, they've been really interesting to me for the last few years. And this is a big deal for me. I hope a big deal for you. But we're partnering together here, and I am super stoked for that.
Yeah, same. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited because I'm excited for the end user, the person, the recipient of what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it, and being able to really serve a lot of people so that they can bring more revenue through their doors. They can put more food on tables and everything that it encompasses. That's what I'm excited for. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm super stoked too, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I am excited too that we're really playing off of our skills and things that we've demonstrated the last few years in our pursuits that we're good at. Whereas I'm pretty okay at making websites and making these podcasts. I'm so at reaching out to the community. I love everyone, but that's where you're going to really be coming in and rocking things out.
Yeah, I love people. I think they're amazing. And I love to help them in the direction that whatever solution that we're talking about in any way, shape, or form. It's something that I've always been passionate about. It's not necessarily a customer service thing. It's a person-to-person thing.
Yeah.
And I don't work with businesses. I work with people. People run their business, but I think a lot of business professionals that are in sales or in business development or marketing, they sell and they go in and they speak business. And
Yeah.
that's typically never how I do it. And it's more, I'm here. I want to work with people that run a business so they can run it better, more efficiently, more effectively, and they can get the solutions that they need so they can provide the solutions because they're in business. And I'm assuming there's got to be a solution that they're providing to their person. So that's what I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you're right there because where I come into this, I always feel like I'm doing that last connection piece where it's like, how is how is the customer being made the hero in their story? That's really the key of it. And I think that having both of these views coming together is so just strong because it is both that like function and the humanity around it all. So I couldn't be more stoked too.
Yeah, I'm elated. It's gonna be good. It's been a long time coming. And again, like for me, this is what you do on the website thing. Can I do website? Sure. I would prefer not to. And that's the thing. Like I
Yeah.
love that piece of it. I'll be honest with the photography thing. If I don't have to post process anything, that would be amazing. Like, I would love to just go out shoot. I would love to have somebody to do the sales and I would go and shoot it and I would just drop it off and give it to my creative director. And then they would just do the things and then deliver. And then I would still have communication and work with the end user, but it's the same thing for you where we're still both working with them, but it's more of you're on the work side of things, the creative side of
Yeah.
things, that putting things together. And that's exactly what you want to do because that's what you feel you're really good at. And I think there's a book, right? I think it's Put Your Strengths to Work maybe, but that I read that many years ago and it went over my head at that point because I was still like, I want to do everything. I want to control everything. And I think as a control freak that most business owners are, I think that they just try to do too much rather than delegation. And I think this is a great delegation between you and I.
Agreed. I think every business there is kind of three functions more or less. There's the sort of sales and marketing silo that I know that they're always two different things, but there's always that silo or like that part of the operations. There's production, and then there's the back office support. And I think that it's interesting because we can all be those different parts in different things organically. Like for some people, I am their sales, their booker, their whatever. But in this thing, in what I've done, I've been realizing like for this task, it's better off if I'm the production, if I'm the communicator, if I'm coming into the client to be like, okay, let's find out your strategic value and let's get that out there to the public. And so I just couldn't be more thrilled.
Yeah, same. It's going to be fun. That's for sure.
Sweet. Honestly, I can't think of a more epic way to end this podcast. So do you have anything else you want to say to the listener out there before we get going, Branden?
I don't think so. I think this has been great. It's stay tuned and
stay tuned.
Need a website.
Indeed.
Where's it go?
And you know what? I might even let you talk with some of the people that need podcasts too. There's so many opportunities.
Oh yeah. I think there's a lot, especially with the amount of people who are doing and getting into this kind of media side with the podcasting or with casting, just because they can supplement part of their income because everything's getting more expensive and things are changing. And I think there's just a lot more people that are doing things when it comes down to they need websites, they need media, they need all of the things that in the promotion. And I guess
event
on my
promotions we can handle, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it comes down to marketing. And me being in marketing for the last 25 years, I looked at marketing 3 different ways. And we can all sit down and figure out what's going to happen and how we can get those people more customers through their door. So I think it's going to be, this is awesome.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like we have about 50 years of experience between the two of us. And I believe we both done a little buying and selling of this stuff too. So it's nice to have been in every chair when you're coming at it. So this is exciting.
Absolutely.
Branden, thank you so much. And let's rock this out.
I agree. Let's do it.
And that's it for this episode of Who Is This For? Remember, whether you're creating music, brands, experiences, or stories, it's all about focusing on that one person. I'm Scott Morfitt, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time on Who Is This For?